Me kriandriya shoriyata handriyati hamaha. Ye kritiya shamahandriya koriyata mahandriya kiya. Welcome to Everyday Christianity. I'm your host, Greg Malone. Glad to have you here for this broadcast. I'm working through the Bible. We're in Genesis chapter 20 today. You can contact me if you'd like to at 315-744-0007, or you can contact me at my email address, which is ro8v as in Victor 28 at gmail.com. That's Romans 8 verse 28. It's just an abbreviation. ro8v as in Victor 28 at gmail.com. You can also text me at that phone number that I gave out, and you can also just call me and leave a message. So let's get into the Word now. This is Genesis chapter 20 and verse 1. Now Abraham moved on from there into the region of Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. For a while he stayed in Gezer. And there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." And Abimilec, king of Ger, sent for Sarah and took her. Now this is another instance where Abraham, now he was Abram before the first time he lied and said that Sarah was his sister. She was named Sarai at that time. God has changed both their names, but now he's doing this again in chapter 20, verse 1 and 2, where he says, "She's my sister." Then Abimilec, king of Ger, sent for Sarah and took her. But God came to Abimilec in a dream one night and said to him, "You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman." Now Abimilec had not gone near her. So he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation?" Did he not say to me, "She is my sister"? And didn't she also say, "He is my brother"? I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands. So again, we see someone appealing directly to God, having a discourse with him, and talking back and forth. Now, God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and therefore we can have these same sorts of conversations with him and, speak back and forth with God, quite frankly. In fact, Abimilec was contradicting what God was saying. He said, "I'm not worthy to be destroyed because I've done nothing. I have a clear conscience and clean hands." So let's move on to verse 6. Then God said to him in his dream, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die." So this is a pretty serious incident that's going on, and God is just making his point absolutely clear to to Abimilec. Now, I hope you don't think this is sacrilegious, but the same thing is being done in the mafia and some of those other groups where they give people a choice that they can't refuse, or make them an offer they can't refuse. What is Abimilec to do here? If he says no, he's dead and everybody with him. And if he agrees with God, he can be set free. And notice that God says that he'll have Abraham pray for him, and he calls Abraham a prophet so that he would live. And so God was getting his point across very, very clear. So verse 8, early the next morning, Abimilec summoned all of his officials, and he told them all that had happened. They were very much afraid. Then Abimilec called Abraham in and said, "What have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you have brought such a great guilt upon me and my kingdom. What have you done, or you have done these things to me that should never be done? And Abimilec asked Abraham, what was your reason for doing this? Abraham replied, I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother. She became my wife. And when God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, this is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother. Then Abimelech bought sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, my land is before you. Live wherever you like. So to Sarah he said, I am giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. This is to cover the offense against you before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated. Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimilech, his wife, and his female slaves so they could have children again. For the Lord had kept all the women in Abimelech's house from conceiving because of Abraham, Sarah's wife Sarah. So I wonder how long this went on, and because how do you figure out that these women couldn't bear unless there was a period of time that had taken place, at least a fairly uh, large period of time. So you just see this whole thing with the problem with lying that Abraham has, and in the past Abram, and is causing great troubles for him and those around him. And don't we do the same thing today? So let's not say of ourselves that we're above this, because we are not. So moving on into the next chapter, chapter 21, we see the birth of Isaac. Now, remember, the Lord came to Sarah and said that before they would have a child, before he returned around that time next year. So we see it's been less than a year, and now she's had this baby. In chapter 21, verse 1. Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah, and as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah bore him. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him, and as God commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. And she added, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age. And at this point, we see that Hagar and Ishmael are sent away. So we see Sarah having a baby about 90 years old, and Abraham is 100. So this is a great miracle, obviously. Verse 8, the child grew and was weaned. And on the day Isaac was weaned, Abraham held a great feast. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham was mocking, and she said to Abraham, get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance of my son Isaac. The matter distressed Abram greatly, because it concerned his son. But God said to him, do not be distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring." Early the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar, and he set them on her shoulders. And then he sent her off with the boy. She went on her way and wandered in the desert of Beersheba. When the water and the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Then she went off and sat down about a bow shot away, for she thought, "I cannot watch the boy die." As she sat there, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave it the boy to drink. God was with the boy as he grew. He lived in the desert and became an archer. While he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. So we see now that Ishmael is God is fulfilling the promise to both Hagar and Abraham concerning their son, and that he would make him a great nation. And now he's grown up, and he's become an archer, and he's got a wife now from Egypt. The Treaty of Beersheba. At that time, Abimilec and Phicol, the commander of the forces, said to Abraham, "God is with you in everything you do. Now swear to me here before God that you will not deal falsely with me or my children or my descendants. Show to me and the country where you now reside as a foreigner the same kindness I have shown you." Abraham said, "I swear it." Then Abraham complained to Abimilec about the well of water that Abimelec's servants had seized. But Abimilec said, "I don't know who has done this. You did not tell me, and I heard about it only today." So Abraham brought sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimilec, and the two men made a treaty. Abraham set apart 7 ewe lambs from the flock, and Abimilec asked Abraham, "What is this meaning of these 7 ewe lambs you have set apart by themselves?" He replied, "Accept these 7 lambs from my hand as a witness that I dug this well." So that place is called Beersheba, because the two men swore an oath there. After the treaty had been made in Beersheba, Abimilec and Phicol, the commander of his forces, returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called on the name of the Lord, the eternal God. And Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines for a long time. So that's where we're going to end our passage of scriptures that we're going through today. This is in Genesis chapter 20, verses 1 through 34, the end of the chapter. We see that Abraham is living amongst the people of the land that his children will one day possess. He's making league with some of these people there, and solving and resolving issues of trouble between his people and the people of Abimilec. So we can see he is a peacemaker, and God, I'm sure, has honored him for that, and he'll honor you for being a peacemaker also. Well, I'd like to end today's show. Just let you know that you can contact me at 315-744-0007. You can text or call me and leave a message, and I'll get back to you. Or you can email me at ro8v28@gmail.com. That's Romans 8, verse 28. That's just the abbreviation, ro8v 28 at gmail.com.